Evening, everyone. Wow, bright, shining, excited faces. I love it. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 4:05 p.m. For the audience here today, my name is David Friedendahl. I am the mayor of the city of Glendora and the presiding officer for this city council meeting. In consideration of others, please silence any electronic devices and refrain from speaking until recognized. And once so, then we'll move forward. We appreciate your participation this evening. For the record, all members of the City Council are present and ready to go. We have a public comment period as our first item. I'd like to open that public comment and invite members of the public to address this legislative body. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once on this item only on the agenda. If you are in attendance, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording admin before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, speakers will advance to the podium, state their name, and share their comments. Do we have anyone wishing to speak during the public comment portion? Seeing none, I'll inquire, has there been any correspondence received?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public comment and bring it back to the purpose of our business for this meeting, which is to conduct interviews and appoint applicants to fill vacancies on city council-appointed boards of the Library Trustees, the Planning Commission, and the Water Commission. And the Water Commission that expires June 30th, 2025? Okay. No?
What?
Okay. We'll invite each applicant to come up. Thank you. There are many, and we want to give each of you your due time and term, but I would ask if you open with public or with comments, please keep them to about 2 minutes so we can then, if we have questions of you, have time to do that and still respect everyone's time to get interviewed. So thank you for that.
Mayor, before we
Please.
call the first interviewee, we did have to make some changes to the interview schedule, and I'd like to present you those changes so you could read the correct order. The ones before you are not accurate.
Yeah, I've got a couple before me, so that would be helpful, yes.
Why don't you take that, and I will take the rest away.
Well, I need that for the applicants. So I want to go with this one. Okay, thank you very much. We will begin with the Water Commission applicants, and what we would like to do is interview each of the applicants, and then we will do a vote by commission, and then move on to the next commission so that our head that's already spaghetti doesn't get worse. So we'd like to do that. So our first interview, we would like to invite Miss Jenny Chen. Jenny, welcome. Hi.
And council members?
My name is Jenny Chen, and I'm here today to ask you to put me on the Water Commission. Currently, I'm serving as a financial consultant at 80/20 Consulting. I'm applying to this position because I think I'm well positioned as a financial consultant. My job is to step into a situation where my clients need help and get up to speed as soon as possible and help them to be successful. And the success, depending on client, range from stepping in to someone who is on leave to helping them to IPO or to help them to, one of the projects that I have is to help them with implementing a new system. So with a wide range of finance position, experience, I think I'm well suited for this position. But from what I know, the Water Commission currently already have some professional in the field. And of course, I also interacted with the Water Division staff who are really helpful in the situation that I have. And what I think you need is someone who can help you to build a story. I have the pleasure to walk the street, knock on door last year, and talk to a lot of Glendora residents last year. And what I hear is a lot of people are talking about the water rate has been increased, but not a lot of people knows about why we're doing such an increase, which include a lot of infrastructure and also improvement and replacement of old water pipe. Those are the story that we need to tell. We need to let our residents to know why their rate may be going up. And as a finance consultant, I am someone who can help you to tell that story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Bring it back to the panel for questions or discussions. Karen?
Hi, Jenny. You answered this question a little bit, but maybe if you'd want to elaborate on some of the things that you think that you would bring to the Water Commission, any new ideas or things that you would like to do?
I like to think about like how to connect the dots for the Water Commission, use water conservation as an example. This is one of the strategic goal of the commission, of the city. And I think there is a lot of agreement among the residents of the city that we should conserve. But how we are taking steps in order to achieve this goal is not very well communicated. And this is the part that I come in, showing people how our increasing rate, and then putting this money back into the community, including I saw there is a 5-year plan of replacing water mains on our streets. Those are the things that the story needs to get out and needs to be connecting with our conservation goals. So those are the things that I can help in this on the Water Commission.
Thank you.
Mendel?
Karen just stole the question that I had, but I want to say thank you for applying. Thank you for your engagement with city affairs. I appreciate that. Maybe I'll ask you just one quick thing. You had alluded that you had a lot of engagement within the district that you're in. What was the number one either affirmation statement that you heard about water and what we're doing, or what was the number one issue from a concern that you heard?
I think a lot of people talk to me about how the road is decaying, and underneath the road is all the pipe. Our city has been over 100 years old, so I'm sure that is happening, which is some of the older pipe needs replacement, and we also need infrastructure to up our game, basically, of reserving water, because we are getting drier by year.
Yeah, thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Jenny, for coming. One question. How would you comply with the mandatory 55-gallon a day per person requirements with that number actually going down? How would you implement that in the system?
This is a very great question. I don't think a lot of people know about the 55-gallon limitation. So first thing first, let's make sure everyone knows about it. So, and when you think about 55-gallon for a family of 4 is about 220 gallon. So we need to show people how this can be managed. Because when you say 55 gallon, do I need to measure it every time I use water, or like we can provide a, let's say a 5-minute shower would be like 10-gallon water use, so that we help people to manage their water use, because from the number on paper to how it can be applied to day, it is a very different story, and we need to fill in the gap for all the residents.
Okay, thank you.
Shauna?
Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you staying involved in the community. I don't have any questions because they all asked everything I was wondering, but thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all very much, and thank you. And we'll,
Do you have any
no,
question
I
for
don't
me?
have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Justin Nakano up. Welcome, Mr. Nakano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate you having me. Oh, my 5 minutes started. My name is Justin Nakano. I have a background in water resources. Currently work for a water master out in Chino for the Chino Basin. I also had the honor of serving on the Water Commission from 2016 to 2023. I got an extra year due to COVID. It was a very enriching time. I learned just as much from being on the commission as well as being able to give knowledge back to the council and the city itself. Being involved in many community events and all that was very enriching. If appointed to the commission for another term, I'd really like to focus a little bit more on regional benefits and opportunities that this city can have. There are opportunities in the future with Metropolitan and the pure water, and potentially bringing in things like recycled water, which could be an excellent source for reliability in our basin and in our city as well. So I think I'd like to try and encourage things along those lines, getting us prepared for it, and working with the main San Gabriel Water Master as well, who I know gives reports to the commission as well. So just want to be involved in that way, if appointed. Yeah, if I could just serve in that manner, I would.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Shauna.
I don't have any questions, but I appreciate that you have so much experience actually here in Glendora on the commission. I think it speaks to the commission that you would serve and then come back again when you're able. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Justin, for your past service. It's really nice that we have community involvement, and with the expertise, I know it's not always easy, timing and everything of that nature. But you mentioned the recycled water. How would you implement and bring in the purple pipe?
Well, currently the infrastructure to bring it is quite far away. The project itself is still kind of in a design and environmental impact phase. It would require some education to the citizens about what it is and how we bring it, but then also just general funding, state funding, and it's a lot of planning. It is many years away, but I think starting to plan now to take that in and increase that reliability is just a really important step, because these things take a really long time. So,
Last question, what's your thoughts on the water conveyance project from Carson up to the San Gabriel Valley?
that's a good loaded question, but
My colleagues wouldn't expect anything else.
yeah, actually, the first time you interviewed, you had no questions. So, no, I appreciate this. Honestly, for myself, I believe that we need to build a system of being able to transfer water that goes beyond just our cities and beyond the county. I think it lends itself to just having more reliability as a whole. There's a lot of regulations that are brought down by the state that are sweeping regulations that it's not a one-size-fit-all, but it's kind of enforced that way. I think having just a network conveyance opportunities in the infrastructure in there gives us more options in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Mendel?
Justin, thank you for being here. I don't want to go deep into this because we don't have a lot of time, but I'm captured by what you said about some of the partnerships. And as you may or may not recall, you probably do recall, there's some wells that are not up and going. The Irwindale well has been like a volleyball being punched back and forth. And is there going to be cleanup? Who's going to pay for that? Blah, blah, blah. Give me a very high level, maybe, thought on how we could better use either existing wells or wells that need a little bit of work to get going again. Just the whole idea of wells.
Sure. there's physical wet water, and then there's paper water as well, and things like the Fosberg well and the Azusa. There's opportunities everywhere to have some kind of partnership, and the benefit of California is that water is a sacred thing and a rare thing. And there's always opportunities coming from like the state level for cleanup efforts and things like that. But it requires kind of getting out of our own town silo and speaking with water departments in between and just saying, if we can produce water here, what does that mean in another spot? There is opportunity for exchange. Agreements like that can get a little complicated. That's kind of my job and expertise is a lot of just agreements and how they're executed and all. But it's important just to have the resource there, to have that well there. So maximize it by looking out. There's funding everywhere for cleanup efforts, and then after that, it's just going out and talking, because it's really just on paper, right? You can clean it up, you can use it. Yeah.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Karen?
Hi, Justin. You touched on this some, but just to go back to your first comment about, coming back again, doing some things differently. Anything else, that in your break time off of the Water Commission that you thought, oh, if I had another chance, I'd like to do X, Y, or Z, or do this differently?
Yeah, so I think my first 2 terms, I really was focused a little bit on within Glendora, and there's a lot of talk about infrastructure, capital improvements, and then we dabbled a little bit on imported water and things like that. I think I'd just like to focus a little bit more on that. I know Chair Hansen was general manager of Three Valleys, so he's very versed in things like that. So I think the commission itself kind of lends itself already to those strengths. And so just to be able to play on that a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question for me, being on the water world in another valley, do you feel that your time commitment or the ability and the resources will afford you to come back to Glendora and give that effort?
I am always interested in trying to serve my community as much as I can in any way. And so Water Commission just seems to fit in the best way. And so I'd be honored to, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Next up, we'll have Mr. Barron.
Yeah, my name is Michael Barron. I'm a 32-year resident here in Glendora. And I'd like to ask you a question, just think of the answer. What percentage of the water used in Glendora goes to outdoor landscapes? In the summer, it's over 80%.
Yeah.
In general, it's about 60 to 65%. That's where my expertise is, in improving outdoor water use efficiency. That's what I spent 20 years of my career in the irrigation industry doing. I'll give you just a quick example. You hear about, oh, we've got to conserve water, we've got to conserve water. The subliminal message is that somebody is taking something away from me when I'm asked to conserve. I got to do it with less of what I pay for. But if I'm told, here, I'm going to help you improve your water use efficiency, I can accomplish my goal of watering what I want with less water. It's a subtle difference, but that's what marketing does for you. I led the Rainbird Drip Irrigation Division for 5 years, 1995 to 2000. Then went to work for Walla Walla Sprinkler Company, introduced the MP Rotator. It's the most efficient sprinkler nozzle, bar none. It now is owned by Hunter. They paid a big premium to Walla Walla, or to Nelson Irrigation. And then at Toro, the last 11 years of my career there, was involved with drip irrigation once again. I actually gave classes here in Glendora as part of a community effort. So what I can bring is something that I'm not sure exists on the Water Commission. That is a understanding of outdoor water use, of how to improve water efficiency, how to get to the 55 gallons per day per person is indoor use. But that's going to be a different story. Outdoor water use, you can more than make up what you don't save on the inside if you save on the outside. And that's where I can, I think, be of help. You've got a lot of technical waterworks knowledge on the commission already. Your waterworks department is, historically been very, very strong and done a great job. I have experience in setting and discussing water rates. Been involved with Metropolitan Water District in those discussions. So I have a pretty broad background in that area, and that's kind of a distinctive set of knowledge that I could bring to the Water Commission to complement the technical waterworks knowledge that exists already. And especially in light of the Make Water Conservation a Permanent Way of Life mandated water savings for this community, which is going to start to have to deliver measurement tools in 2007 or be exposed to a $10,000 a day fine for not complying. Now, whether they actually somehow force or send you a bill, I don't know. But there's going to be work that has to be done in order to demonstrate that this community has been making steps towards achieving that water objective use. So that's basically what I can bring to the party.
Great, okay, thank you. I'll start with questions. Michael?
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for applying. I'm going to give you a challenging question and one that was already brought up. We have 2 wells in Irwindale that are in the Superfund site that are non-operational. What would you do with them?
I think there's always that cost-benefit analysis. Can they be cleaned? Can they be brought back up? I think in one of the videos that I watched, they were talking about a $10 million expense to be able to bring a well back into production. And so I think it's a matter of looking at what does it contribute incrementally to the water supply? Is it going to help us to be more resilient? Is it going to help us to reduce water purchases from MWD, which there were very, very few purchases in 2024 because of the wet year? But you got to look at the facts, and then you have to do that cost-benefit analysis.
And last question is, Purple Pipe, is that feasible?
In order to use Purple Pipe, I think what you need to, if you said, okay, we're going to water all of our sports fields with Purple Pipe, but I can't see spending the money to lay Purple Pipe throughout the city of Glendora so that all of us that have large yards can use reclaimed water at a lower price. So I find that one tough. There are cities that have dual piping systems, but that was at an early phase, before a city grew to be, 60,000.
Thank you. It was good timing with the color with the purple. If they want to ask a question.
That means pipe that's identified for use of reclaimed water, in case anybody had any questions about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mendel?
Michael, thank you for being here and applying, and thank you for the knowledge that you have. Our paths have crossed many times, but I never knew that you had the knowledge that you have. You probably have said it in your opening thoughts, but is there one very important thing that our water board could do if you were elected, like within the first 100 days, that maybe you already haven't said? What you've said has been good, but
Water agencies are kind of the Rodney Dangerfield of utilities. They never have an outage unless they're, replacing pipe in the street.
right.
Their price per gallon is lower than anything you can buy anywhere. The quality is excellent, and yet who says thank you? Nobody. So I think that communicating on a regular basis, not as a separate mailer, but as part of something that's already going out to the community, maybe it's a part of the website, to reinforce all the positive things that the water agency is doing and some of the long-term planning. I think Jenny mentioned, communicating informing, I think is very important. So that's something that could be done in that first 100 days.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Karen?
Well, it's related to that a little bit. I was just going to say your earlier comment about conservation and education. I was going to ask, how would you go about doing that? And you answered that a little bit just now,
Yeah.
but
One idea I had, the city knows how much water it's saving with its, low volume water use, right? You know how much water can be saved when you replace lawns with drip irrigation and still have a aesthetically pleasing landscape. So I think that there's opportunity to somehow partner with maybe a builder or an educational entity, maybe Citrus College, to do demonstration gardens that shows, and bring architects, a landscape architect in, and almost have a competition amongst landscape architects to, hey, this is one approach, this is one approach, and then offer a tour, or do those projects at people's houses and then have a tour, a walking tour, to see how beautiful a low water conserving landscape can be. Because bottom line, if the only time that footsteps go down on a lawn is because somebody's pushing a mower, that's what we call non-functional turf. And that's what we have to try to address, but in a way that is encouraging, using the carrot, not the stick.
thank you.
Thank you. Shauna?
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
Everybody asked such wonderful questions, so for the sake of time, I'm going to forego any further questions.
Okay.
But thank you for being here.
Very good.
Thank you. And
All right?
you've been very good. I have no questions either, so.
Okay, thank you
very
so much.
Very good. Next up will be Diana Offen. Is Diana with us? Okay. Oh, thank you for that. And next we have Miss Emily Hernandez. Emily, welcome.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. My name is Emily Hernandez. I work with Charter Oak Unified School District. I manage communications for them, so I have been fortunate to see you guys at all our events throughout the year, so thank you so much for the support. But before coming to Charter Oak, I worked for California Water Service for 9 years. In that capacity, I was the external communications program manager. It's an investor-owned utility, but we serve people in 4 states and over 4 million people. So in that role, I was responsible for communicating everything about conservation, water system improvement projects, the rate-making process, water quality issues, emergency communications, or there's a boil order, et cetera. So I have a wide wealth of knowledge about a lot of subjects in conservation in all the fields. One thing that's interesting is because it's such a large water district, I've been able to assess the different conservation programs to see what works and what doesn't work. I have the ROI information to back up to see where we've seen the greatest success with conservation programs. Before going to Cal Water, I worked for the United States Senate, and I'm sort of a policy wonk, so I'm really good at looking at what's coming down the pike legislation-wise. A few years ago, when Chromium-6, when the MCL was getting lowered, I was instrumental in seeing where the state was headed and helped secure grant funding. So when it actually hit, our customers' bills weren't impacted as dramatically. And then just working with the customers to understand water quality is pretty tricky to communicate about, but I think just being able to break it down and making it understandable is huge. I think also people don't really understand where they get their water from or everything that goes into it. So when there's a rate hike, people are angry. They see the end result, but they don't see how cheap it is compared to bottled water. They don't see the infrastructure that it takes to get there. They don't see what's needed from a treatment perspective to make it healthy enough and pass all the safety requirements and make it okay to drink. So I think based off the fact that I've got 9 years experience in water, and that really I believe that the commission could use help communicating and talking about water, I think I'd be a pretty good fit. And I've been in this community now for about 4 years, and I'm really looking to get plugged in and give back. So that's why I'm interested in joining the commission.
Great. Well, thank you, and welcome to our house.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it back for questions. Shauna?
thank you so much for being here. I fully agree that most people have no idea where their water comes from and how it gets here. I was one of those people. I was lucky enough to spend the day with our water department and go and learn all of that stuff. So I think it's fascinating and fantastic. What do you think you could contribute to maybe conveying that information to the general public who isn't always plugged into stuff like that?
Sure, absolutely. So what we did in the past is I'm really good with video, so I made a series of videos that we put on social media to kind of help explain and demystify that. Holding open houses, for example, if you're having a festival or a street festival, having a booth there and talking about it and showing kind of a visual and letting people know that they're not just like paying for what's coming out of their pot, but really the product, like, you know, the transportation, the infrastructure, and all of that, and just kind of helping paint a picture. Infographics are huge. You know, whenever there's like a Glendora City magazine that goes out, just maybe dedicating some space, like a Did You Know section, so they can kind of enlighten, make it simple, easy to understand, don't go too far into the weeds, and just, you know, regularly communicate.
Perfect, thank you.
Right. Michael?
Well, the water comes from the tap, you just turn it on, right?
Naturally.
Wow, you applied originally for the community services and you have this background?
Actually, the school district, but yes.
Well, your application said, I think, communities, was that community services? Yeah, it was community services you originally applied for, and it's crossed off.
Oh, okay. Apparently, community services.
Oh,
That was the one that
oh, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up.
We're just trying to make you confused, that's all.
Welcome to the team.
How am I doing?
Hey,
All good.
all good. It's a wealth of knowledge with being and working in the Senate and knowing what's coming down. What do you expect from the federal government since we have more of a state control of our water resources?
So historically, on a federal level, they're not as concerned with contaminants and safety of drinking water as the state. The state's much more aggressive as putting that forward and through. I think what you're going to see is the Western United States become drier and drier. What that means for water supply and where they're sending the water and who's getting it, for example. I think it really depends on who's in control too of what's going to happen there. I think the biggest issue is just really Sacramento and them putting their hands on local control here.
Do you think EPA is going to change what California is doing?
I think if anything, become a little more laxed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mandel?
Well, I'm impressed by the vast array of jobs that you've had, from the Senate to working with tribes to California Water, and now with a partner that we dearly love at Charter Oak. So you have landed well, and so thank you for applying.
Thank you.
I'm curious, so what would be something that you could have taken from the California water job that you had that would be applicable to a city-owned water district?
So I think one thing that is universal is the cost of repairs, the cost of trying to figure out when you make the fixes and when you don't. I think no matter what, if you don't want to raise rates, if you're in private or if you're a municipality, and so you put it off as long as possible so you're a good steward, but then if you put it off too long, the cost of repairs become much larger. And if there's leaks, that's really one of our biggest issues with conservation. So I think just having that knowledge that you need to be a good steward of your water system, keep it as in good condition as possible while being affordable and providing reliable service is important. So I think just understanding that delicate balance between rate holder and reliability. I think also just helping educate the public. But the reason that it's so important to maintain the water system is because fire system reliability is a huge issue right now. If the water's not there and there's a fire, it's catastrophic. So just really reminding people why it's important to invest in the water so it's there when the firefighters need to turn on the tap and turn on the hose.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Emily, for applying, and thank you for all of the knowledge that you bring. When you came to Glendora 4 years ago with your vast knowledge of the water industry, was there anything that struck you about how Glendora does water? in terms of information or delivery?
I mean, obviously, the water team is fantastic, but they're more about operations and less on the communications front. So I think that there's an opportunity, a growth opportunity to communicate more. If we're asking for people to reduce consumption so dramatically, then let's partner with them. Let's give them tips. Let's look for, rebates. Let's partner with Met and take some of their programs that are available to our residents. And so I think just having somebody here that can be hands-on and kind of usher that through, so your operations people can focus on operations, and the people that are good at communicating can help like with messaging and push that out. I think that that's an area that would benefit the city.
Great, thank you.
Great. You've hit all the points, and I'm good. When you get to be last, you get all the good information beforehand. So thank you very much. And I think at this point, I will ask, did
We want to see if
Diana Offen come in? Is Diana with us? Okay. We'll go with that. All righty. At this point, we are going to take our vote for this commission. Before we do so, I want to thank everybody who has applied. It is an amazing wealth of information. I wish we had 10 seats. This is amazing. With that, members, please cast your ballot and send it to our clerk. We are voting for one. I got you.
ballots results is Justin Nakano.
Okay, well, congratulations, Mr. Nakano, and thank you to the rest. I will offer this invitation. Our next cycle, I think we will have potentially 3 seats available, so please consider us again. The wealth and opportunity is amazing, and we can't pass that up, and really cannot. So thank you very much to the water applicants.
And Mayor, we will keep their applications on file.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, next we'll move into our planning, comment? Okay, we'll get into our planning commission group next, and our first applicant will be Michael Dajic. Am I saying that right? How badly, not close. What is it, sir? Help me out. Okay.
Just like it's spelled.
Thank you for that consideration.
No
Welcome.
worries. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to apply for the Planning Commission. I'm excited to do so. My name's Michael Jaich. My family and I, we moved to Glendora about 4 years ago. It got to the point where our son was getting to school age. And we came from the San Fernando Valley, and we were looking around, and the community that we were living in was not the community that we wanted to see him grow up in. There were a lot of challenges, and the schools were not great. So we started looking for communities that we felt best represented our values as a family. And we quickly found Glendora. We moved here. We purchased a house here in the historic district, Century House, walking distance to the village, and we absolutely love it. Every morning we walk our son to Cullen. He's now in the 3rd grade. He just finished the 3rd grade. And one of the opportunities that he had a month or so ago was to apply for the student council at Cullen, and he got really excited about it. And we've been talking about good communities don't happen by accident. Good communities are built, and good communities are maintained. So public service is important. Volunteering your time is important. Being a part of solutions is important. And so he filled out his application, he walked it to school, and then when he got there, he got nervous, and he got scared, and he didn't think he was gonna get it, and he got really nervous about handing it in, and ultimately he didn't turn it in. And when he got home, his mom and I, we were talking to him about good reasons to do things, good reasons not to do things, bad reasons to do things, and bad reasons not to do things. And you can't not do something because you're scared or you don't think you're gonna get it. And coincidentally, right as we were having that conversation, the post on the city's page came out about the opening in this planning commission, and I thought, what better way for me to model the behavior that we want to see with him than to apply myself? As we say as parents, kids listen to some of what we say, but they watch everything that we do, right? So I'm here. I'm an architect. I have 20 years of experience here in the Los Angeles area. I've been a part of, I want to say, $3 billion worth of construction and design throughout my career in almost every sector. I've designed sports stadiums. I've built high-rise apartment buildings. I've built hotels throughout in different cities. And most recently, for the past 10 years or so, I built hospitals. And part of what I do as a project manager is I communicate. I communicate and I translate. I look at difficult problems, complex problems from many different areas, from contractors, from engineers, from owners, from developers, from cities. And I quickly understand the complex issues and I translate it into language that everybody will understand that doesn't sound scary, ultimately. And what I think that I can bring to this council is exactly that. I have a wealth of background in almost every building sector, and I'm local to the community, but I haven't been engaged in Glendora itself, so I can be a very practical, well-reasoned sounding board to give advice. I speak contractor, I speak architect, I speak engineer, and I speak developer. And I've presented many times in front of many city councils, both the LA City Council, West Hollywood, Thousand Oaks. I flew up to Salt Lake City to give a presentation up there. And so I'm excited to model the behavior that I'd like for my son and step across the aisle.
Okay, great. Let's bring it back to our panel then. Karen?
I was going to say, but do you speak city manager and city council? That's a language in and of itself, right
You
there.
might not believe it, but yes, I do.
So looking into the future, what does the Glendora of 5 years from now look like?
Hopefully it looks a lot like where we are now. One of the great things about Glendora is the history and the focus on preserving that history while still looking to the future. We still want to grow, we still want to modernize, but do so in a way that really cherishes the history, the over 100 years of history here. I mean, my house itself has been standing for over 100 years, and I want our city to grow. I want our city to get better, but we can't lose the kernel that makes Glendora special.
Okay, thank you.
Mendel?
Michael, thank you, and interesting story. I think it's great. A quick thing, medical.
Yes.
Have you ever worked in Whittier?
I have not worked in Whittier.
Okay.
I've
My wife was a nurse at Whittier Press, so I
Oh, is
just
that right?
didn't- And they've expanded, and I just didn't know if you worked on any of their
I have not. I've
They're
worked a
monster
lot
buildings.
in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
I worked a lot in Riverside. I've worked a lot in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I've worked a lot in West Hollywood and in Pasadena.
Yeah.
I've done a lot at Children's Hospital LA, CHOC.
Okay.
A lot with Prime Healthcare, which I know up
Yeah.
until recently had a strong footprint here in
Yeah.
Glendora.
That's true.
Yeah.
Just quickly, what is your opinion on height and density? Just overall.
Overall, I would like to see less density. Height, once you get above 4 stories, really you start to get larger than the scale of the surroundings, and we want to be careful about that. Of course, you'd have to explain a little bit more and get into the details a little
Yeah,
bit to
no.
see the specific circumstance. But overall, I think it would be a difficult sell. And then, of
Okay.
course, you don't want to go over 75 feet, then you're in
Yeah.
high-rise territory.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And best of luck to your rising star,
Oh, thank you.
your son.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Michael, for coming, and you had a great presentation in the very opening. I guess what we're kind of alluding to with some of the questions is, Sacramento dictates a lot to what we do. We have lot less control than we once had before, and we're trying to protect that kernel that you so very well mentioned. What do you think of some of the legislation that has the mandates, like I forgot which SB is, SB 76, I think it is, a 7-stories metro that they will allow by right, things of that nature? You pretty much said that it would change the nature, which it would, of our city. What do you think of some of the legislation coming down, and how would you maneuver so that it can comply to surrounding areas?
It's a challenge. It's a good question. And I think it's a challenge not just for Glendora, but for everybody. It's going to be a challenge in Altadena. It's going to be a challenge in the Palisades, who are looking to rebuild and preserve what is historically a community built on single-family homes and single families. There's a way to modernize. There's a way to move within those guidelines that doesn't sell the soul of the city to everybody, right? There's a way of allowing high-density construction in certain areas without allowing it everywhere, without, I guess, losing what makes Glendora special.
Because what the Planning Commission by right has certain abilities that never comes to us. So you would be the last arbiter of that decision.
Yes, yes. And one of my son's good friends was a city planner here up until recently, and he would tell me all of the stories, and he said, "You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to apply."
And after that, you still wanted to apply.
After that, I still wanted to apply. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Shauna?
Well, I love the story about your son. That's darling. I'm a Cullen mom, so we have that in
Yes.
common. I've never seen you there, but
Yes. I remember seeing you at the trunk or treats.
oh, okay. Well,
Yep.
uh-oh. Well, I think we kind of touched on, you made a comment about looking at complex problems and helping translate them in a way that doesn't seem so scary. So Glendora's scary issue is higher density housing.
Yeah.
And like Michael alluded to, the state has mandated a lot of that stuff, so it is coming down the pipeline. Do you have any out-of-the-box ideas? I mean, it's coming. I think we would be doing a disservice to the community to pretend that it's not. I do agree with you that the way to approach it is geography. There's places that we can put the higher density housing that would make sense in our community. Just if you can briefly expand on your thoughts. I was looking for a clock. Expand on that just a little bit about maybe what you could do to help kind of ease that into the community in a way that makes sense here.
Sure. Well, I think you start with mid-density. We're already starting to see it. We're already starting to see some of the higher density apartment complexes popping up here and there. And, you can work with massing of a building in a way that even if it's high density, it doesn't appear obtrusive, right? There's a lot that we can do on the design side to minimize scale, to minimize visual density from passersby, from the street, from that type of a thing. The challenge, and the other area where we can look at and push back on is traffic studies, making sure that these higher density developments don't start popping up in areas where traffic is already an issue, and adding that extra density is just going to cause further problems.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did I get you guys? I'm lost. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I'm one of those creatures looking at design, feel, fit. So and I don't mind pushing back to the north at all. That's me.
Fantastic.
So, okay, appreciate that. And you've alluded to some of that wisdom, so thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
For visiting. Great. Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Wendy Jarvie. Welcome, Wendy. Hi.
Hello, I'm Wendy Jarvie, and I actually was here a couple years ago for the same position. And just a recap of the last time I was here, I'm a lifelong Glendora resident. Spent a couple years away, but came back to raise a family. And since the last time I was here interviewing, I've had some. Well, let me back up. I've been watching all of the meetings, the commission meetings, and I just would like to say that I'm very pleased at some of the projects that came out of those commissions and moved forward. Some examples are the medical center on Lone Hill and Route 66, including I guess the gateway entrance, the mural that will go on that corner. I was excited to hear that lot will be developed. And things like the Brandywine development on Route 66, the expansion of Cornerstone Church. So in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of growth that has been really great. Speaking of growth, I myself have had some experience in the last couple of years that I think is relevant to this commission. I've been on a team that developed a master plan for a local community college, multi-campus, and that master plan was instrumental in that college passing a really substantial bond. So I can bring that sort of experience. I've also worked on projects that are heavy on the civil engineering side, central plants that deal with cooling and heating for campuses. Obviously, I specialize in higher education, so I have experience with different types of projects within that span across the spectrum of design. So, well, on campuses, you have housing. So I've worked on dormitories. You have dining. I've done the cafeterias and cafes. So I have a little bit of experience across the spectrum, and my past experience, I've done a lot of retail. So I cover the gamut, almost everything. I've done a little bit of medical labs as well. So I think that my vast experience could help on this commission, and I welcome any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Wendy. Karen?
Hi, Wendy. I'll ask the same question I asked last time. What would you envision the Glendora of 5 years from now to look like?
Well, I've been following the surveys and the reports on the development area at the Glendora Station. So I want to be careful that we grow Glendora in a way that's unique to Glendora. And like you were talking about before, that a lot of mandates come down from the state. So I want to make sure that we grow Glendora as our unique identity. And a lot of that is residential. And I see nowadays there's multi-generational families living in one place. I was pleased to see in one of the reports recently that there were several ADUs that were approved. And I think that if we can get more senior living, not mid-density senior living, I think we can free up a lot of the homes for younger families to come in. So I'd like to see a little more growth on the residential side. And I've talked to people that have moved here from other states and other countries, and the thing that they liked about Glendora was that small town feel. So I do want to see growth, but in a way that is unique to Glendora.
Great, thank you. Mendel?
Well, you touched my heart for senior living, because I know a couple of my friends here were
As long as there's a
thinking-
bedroom on the main floor in the bathroom.
thinking that, you're speaking right to me, since I'm the senior person in terms of age here, so.
Just say, you're old.
Yeah. I'll ask the same thing of you as I did of Michael, your thoughts on height and density.
So in that report that came out about the station, Glendora Station area, I was surprised to see that so many people voted for, in the survey, the outreach to the community, that so many people were interested in 4 to 6 story buildings. And for me, my personal cap is 3 for Glendora, because once you get 4 or more, it starts looking like, no offense to the designers of Avalon, but it's not welcoming. It's a little bit too tall.
Okay, thank you.
Michael?
Thank you for applying, Wendy. How would you deal with Sacramento and the legislation coming down that we have to comport to?
That one's a more challenging question for me, but I would like to advocate, going back to the senior living, if there is a way we could push back and get that, get more density, because that's mainly what I see coming out of Sacramento is they want high-rises everywhere. And if we could make some pushback and compromise with more senior living and have the type of housing that we think fits our community.
Thank you.
Hey, Shauna?
Thank you, Wendy, for being here. What do you see is a good balance between residential and commercial? Because I think we need both, right? I think we need housing. Well, I know we need housing, but we also need things for people to do. That was another thing on the survey that scored, I think, the highest, if I'm not mistaken, was opportunities for dining and shopping. How do you strike a balance?
So, yes, I've heard this even from friends and family. They're very disappointed that there's so few places in Glendora, restaurants, that are open past 10. They don't have anywhere to go for dinner and drinks if it's past 10. And so I'd like to see more mixed use, maybe, to have a ground level be more retail and restaurants, and have living above. So yes, I would incentivize restaurants and retail, and I think that will be a great growth for especially the station, the Glendora Station area, but also across the whole corridor.
Now, do you think that's attainable, the mixed use with only, you mentioned 3 stories, is your cap? Is mixed use like that attainable with only 3 stories?
Yes, because of the scale of Glendora, we don't need to have huge nightclubs. And, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I would like to see the scale of it be proportional to our city's feel.
What'd you think of the station area vision plan? You mentioned it. It's my favorite document.
It was very thorough.
It's great.
It was very thorough. I question how we could improve the post office since it's a federal building. That's the only disappointment that I had is that that building sits within that zone. So, but otherwise, I mean, I'd like to see retail and restaurants all the way down to the station and expand the village.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. My concerns come back to visioning and state's vision isn't what our vision is typically, so willingness to press on that is good. Okay, I have no questions to go, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Next, I'd like to invite Luis Jimenez. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Luis Miguel Jimenez. My family moved here in City of Glendora in 2003 to buy their first home. I attended Glendora High School throughout my entire high school experience. We came from a local city, and I didn't think the difference would be as vast as it was, but it was in a very positive way. I had a great time growing up here, made lifelong friends, had my first job here at the Sergio's Mexican restaurant. Unfortunately, that one closed down, so I worked at the Cragen and then O'Reilly's. I attended Citrus Community College. I went to Cal Poly Pomona. After Cal Poly Pomona, I had the opportunity to work at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I started my career at Men's Central Jail. Shortly after 2 years of saving up, against my parents' advice, I moved out of Glendora to a busier city, and immediately after 8 months moved back because I missed the city, and I haven't left since. I've lived here with my family for about 7-8 years now, since my brief leaving. And my wife didn't understand my obsession with coming back to the city, and after her first few months here, she understood it. Our neighbors brought cookies over to us. We watched their kids. They watch our kids. It's a very close-knit community. During my time at the Sheriff's Department, aside from Men's Central Jail, I've been a gang investigator. I patrolled various cities throughout LA County, where I've worked closely with other council members throughout the county. Currently, I have the privilege of serving as an instructor for the Advanced Officer Training Unit at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, which has afforded me a better schedule. I started working there in November, and me and my wife, you can ask her, I told her I've always been interested in giving back to my community and offering my services. And I told her once I get a position where I can spend the time to give back, I will. And lo and behold, she showed me an Instagram post that the city posted on the job opening, and I jumped on it immediately. And I feel that the Planning Commission would be a good fit for my skill set. Listening to other people here, I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, but I have worked with communities in order to solve problems. I work closely with community members at different cities to get their sense of what they want their city to be. So I feel like I can bring that to the table. I've coordinated various operations throughout my time in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I've worked with the FBI, U.S. Marshal Service, CDCR. I've planned and coordinated many different operations. I feel like that skill set would allow me to work with different members, different personalities across different departments here in the city, as well as other cities as well. And
Great.
I don't want to talk too much. I want to leave some
Yeah, thank you for
time for
that.
questions.
Come back to Shauna.
I don't think I have any questions, but thank you for applying and for being here, and certainly for your service in law enforcement. I have the utmost respect and appreciate that you have come here to give back to your community.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you for your applying, Louis. I really appreciate that. It's really nice that we have involvement from the citizens here. It's just amazing how involved, as you mentioned, how tight-knit of a community of and how important of a job it is. In your job with the Sheriff's Department, would you have any issues with timing and coming to meetings? And sometimes you'll have to go out and look at a project or things of that nature. Would that be an impediment at all?
No, I have a very nice schedule. I don't have to worry about working 16-hour shifts anymore, back to back. I don't do that anymore. I always say I'm just an educator now, so I have a pretty nice schedule. Yeah, I don't have any commitment issues.
No recalls or anything?
No. I mean, unless stuff really gets bad, they tend to. If they start pulling the instructors, then we got a problem. so that's all in the past.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem, sir.
Great. Michael? Mendel, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir, for that
Michael. He's Michael.
correction.
Nice compliment there.
It was the hair color.
Yeah, it's the hair color. Thank you for what you do. I was actually kind of shocked that you're here with all of the craziness going on and the recalls. So thank you for taking time and investing, and welcome home. There's nothing like hearing a Piper play and thinking that is the essence of some of what our city is about. So
Yes.
I'm sure your wife has fallen in love with those too. So a couple of things. One, on your application, you indicated on question 8 that you are happy with what you've seen in recent years with, what has been built. Question 1 would be, is there anything that would concern you about what has been built, or are you good with that? And then I'll follow up with what I've asked the other two with density and, height. Any opinions there? Especially since you've been out and around, you've seen all kinds of things built. So those are my two questions.
Of course. Thank you. Am I extremely happy with everything that has been built? Of course not, no. So it's one of the things, if you get to know me, I'm a pretty straight shooter. I'm transparent. If I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know, but I'll find you the answer. But I'm not going to lie to you. There are some things that were built that I don't necessarily agree with. Like I said, I really value this community. I value the small town feel of it. And there are some structures here that I personally feel are out of place. I do understand the need for housing. Housing is incredibly important. Some of my close friends who I went to high school with have been unable to move back here because of housing prices. I'm very cognizant of that, and I recognize that. But I feel that we can work, kind of going back to some of the questions that were asked earlier of other candidates. I feel like we can work with the people, the companies that are proposing these plans. I'll give an example. I live in the Coral community, and approximately 4 years ago, there was a plan that they wanted to build out a community there. Well, I attended the meeting, everything, and everything looked good, but I didn't like the fact that there was a pedestrian gate leading into our community. So working in other cities around here in LA County, as silly as it sounds, I've responded to various calls of disturbance among neighbors of different communities, whether it be over parking whether it be, you know, oh, their kids are coming over here and they're vandalizing my stuff, different calls. So I was that guy and took my newborn son of 4 months to Office Depot, where I personally made and printed out 100 flyers and walked him around our community to advise the people, like, hey, you know, this is what they want to build, make your voice heard. The project was abandoned. Fast forward now, a few months ago, I went to another conference or plan that they were presenting to our community. So a lot of my members were saying, hey, can you go and just fill this in? No problem. I went, talked to them, and I liked what I heard. They said, you know what, we addressed the community's concerns. The main concern was having vehicle access or pedestrian gate there. We're going to close it off. We're going to grade that level toward your community down 10 feet. We're going to have the smaller homes there in order to minimize the visual impact of your community, which I felt is fair because many of the community members that I live next to are original owners. They've been there since the 50s. Some of them are living in a house that was owned by their parents. So I like that. I feel that it shows respect to existing community members. So if we're going to build something, I would like a partnership with people that are proposing plans. That way they can build things to try and keep the existing community residents happy. Try to find a happy medium. Are we going to make everyone happy? Absolutely not. No. I'm a realist. But if we can address some of their concerns, I think that's going to go a long way, and it'll keep Glendora what we all know and love.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Karen?
Hello. When you were thinking about wanting to give back, so I have two questions. First, why did you choose Planning Commission of all the commissions to apply for? And then secondly, the question I asked previously, what does the Glendora 5 years from now look like for you?
Of course. I selected the Planning Commission. In all honesty, I felt that my skill set would be better used here as opposed to other commissions that are available right now. Again, my main skill set that I bring is interacting with the community. I'm very proactive. So I'm a big proponent of being proactive as much as possible. I know we send letters out when there's new projects being proposed. I totally get that. It's a great tool. I would take it personally a step further. Me myself, I wouldn't task anyone with that. I would take a step further and actually go and knock on residents' doors. Like, hey, we're going to build, or there's a developer proposing to build this here by your house. What do you think of this? What would you like to see? What are your concerns? And then maybe we can go ahead and just front load people on that. That way, hey, if you're going to create something, just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Respect the wishes of the existing residents before we add something to our community. Going back to the 5-year plan, of course, more housing, businesses. Yes, we're going to be getting the goal line here soon. We do want more business, more revenue. I totally understand. With that said, I am just very wary. Again, I view everything from a public safety aspect. So yes, more businesses, of course, I understand. I would just say just be selective on what we build. What kind of businesses? If we're going to sell liquor, what kind of establishment are we going to okay? Is it going to be like a fine dining? Is it going to be more of a sports bar? What are we doing here? And just keeping that in mind. So I'm all for, obviously, more housing. We need it. More businesses, yes. I would just say we got to be a little more selective in what we go with.
Okay. Thank you very much, and you've covered all my bases, so appreciate that very much.
Sure. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, that brings it back to, we shall vote for the Planning Commission, and we ask you to vote for one.
I will now pass out the ballot number 2. We have Wendy and Michael.
Okay. Appears we have a tie, so we'll vote one more time, maybe.
Are we going to vote for the two highest or?
Majority.
Result is Wendy Jarvie.
Okay. Well, thank you again to all the applicants, and congratulations, Wendy Jarvie. We will maintain the applications and keep them on file in case an opening comes up. We'd love to be able to reach back. So thank you all for your consideration and your time. Next up is our Board of Library Trustees, and we are running a little short, so I will ask, please keep your comments as brief as you can be thorough, and we'd love to have time for questioning. We are looking to fill 2 vacancies. Our first applicant is Adrienne Ferguson. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, City Council, for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself and to possibly serve on the board of the Library of Trustees. My name is Adrienne Ferguson, and my husband and I purchased our home in 1995, and we have raised 2 children in this beautiful city. My background is in education, having received a bachelor's in communication disorders and a master's of education with a multiple subject credential. I have put my education to use by being a middle school teacher and an elementary school principal. While my children were growing, I made it a point to be visible and active in their educational career. My volunteering began with soccer. I did not know what I was doing, but I saw a need and stepped in. They didn't win many games, but they had a lot of fun. I became a Daisy Scout leader and a Cub Scout leader. I went on to serve on the Cullen Elementary PTA, and when my daughter graduated to Goddard, I became a board member on Goddard's show choir. Following my daughter's promotion to GHS, I was recruited for the board of the GHS show choir and was later asked to assist the parent committee of the GHS cross-country team. At the same time, I was recruited to the Glendora Education Foundation's annual dinner fundraiser. When my children graduated from high school, I became principal of St. Dorothy Catholic School. I successfully managed a TK through 8th grade school for 8 years, even through COVID. It is in this position that I was able to develop and implement the mission, values, and vision of my school and its community. I also have experience setting policies, establishing budgets, and overseeing the operation of an organization. I believe this and my previous volunteer work on several boards have prepared me to serve on the Board of Library Trustees. It is time for me to become active in my city and put my skills to use. It would be a great honor to serve my community with my experience and expertise.
Thank you very much. I'll lead off with Karen.
Hello, thank you for applying. What do you think would be something that you would bring to the library board?
I think just my education, just the background of wanting to help children, and everything that I do is with children in mind. I believe that I can bring a spirit of fun and excitement. And what I don't know, I will learn and just make, I don't know that I can make the library a greater place because I really enjoy it now. But just bringing it maybe up and forward and making it more exciting, I guess, just for the little ones to come in. And for seniors, because now that I'm in that platform, I need to start doing more as a senior.
Thank you.
Mendel?
I have a heart for middle school teachers because our daughter's one, so blessings on your life. What do you teach? What's the subject? And what is the grade that you teach? And what kind of books do you like to read?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science, 6th and 7th grade math. I love reading science fiction. I'm a nerdy girl at heart. So science fiction, true crime. But my most absolute favorite book that I go to time and time again, there's two actually, To Kill a Mockingbird and Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Those are my absolute favorites, and I read them every year.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Michael?
Thank you for applying, and thank you for your time over at St. Dorothy's. With the ever-changing environment, with education, with the digital realm, do you see any extensions for that into the library for growth?
I do. Actually, I was really excited to learn that the library had an app. I went in recently, and they told me about that. The world is going app crazy. I know even myself, I have my iPad that I did my speech on, and being a teacher, it's a fine balance. We want the children to have technology because that's where their future lies, and it's their world, but we also need to make sure that they understand that they need to, learning how to annotate, learning how to actually read and open a book, learning how to find information when they don't have it. Heaven forbid Glendora loses power for an hour. What are the children going to do? Things like that. But I think that the library does need to go a little bit more digital. Right now on Instagram, the big trend is libraries. You see kids getting excited about librarians. And I know when I checked our own Instagram, we did have one video with the new Power Up that we have that started on June 2nd, which was really exciting. They used the Marvel theme song, so that got me interested in it. But I think, hyping up our librarians even, who are they? What do they do? What do they do for fun? What do they read? Giving them stories for the students to follow, because I know they're on there every single day. So bringing that in more, just making it more personal online for the kids.
Thank you.
Shauna?
Thank you so much for being here. I think we focus a lot, generally, everybody focuses a lot in terms of libraries on the young children and seniors. I have a teenager, I have a young child too, but I have a teenager who sometimes doesn't see the value in a great book, like you said, God forbid the power goes out for an hour. What do you think we could do to bring that demographic into the library, or get them engaged more?
Definitely peer-to-peer tutoring. I think starting some kind of club or group where they can meet. Why don't we have teen book clubs? Why don't we have writing clubs where they could come in and write? Girl nerdy, like I said, I would have loved to have written science fiction. Or, maybe you could have a manga or an anime club that meets at the library, because those are books. So things that are going to interest them. You can go to Glendora High School, you can go to Whitcomb, you can go even to Goddard or Sandburg and find out what do they want? What is it that they're interested in that we could bring them to the library, especially in the summer when parents are working? Where do these kids go? So that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And you picked up on some of the things I'm looking at as future for the programs, and complement what's there and expand it, because it's not just a building. So
Not just a building.
great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Esther Garza Maloney. Esther with us? Oh, there you are. Sorry, you're right behind the podium from my view.
And I'm
Welcome.
short, so.
You were sitting down.
So I'm Esther, and I've been a resident of Glendora for 10 years. I lived in Washington State prior to that for about 13 years, but I am homegrown. I was born and raised in Southern California. So now going back to in terms of how I can be an asset to this board. I went to UCLA, got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I taught for 18 years, both at the secondary level and at college level. Then I did get my master's degree in educational foundations as well. Then when I was living in Washington, I actually was a child care director where I dealt with preschool all the way to junior high. And I started a preschool from the ground up. They never had one before, and so I started that. And so I got lots of education in terms of early childhood development as well. Part of the program of being a child care director there is that I had to create programs in order to not only for after school, but also for summer programs and how we use the community in order to bring them together, because having kids all day for 6 to 8 hours a day is hard. And so we had to do a lot of outreach in order to basically get these kids to be part of the community and also the community part of the programs that we ran. So now coming back to California, I have a new career. I'm now a registered nurse, and so that's my second career, but definitely education is my passion. I still educate a lot as being a nurse. What I want to look at in terms of, and why I applied for the position, is because I feel that for the most part, if you're kind of like searching for something, you can find kind of programs and things that are in the community, but you have to kind of like grab them. And I feel in some ways Glendora can be kind of like a little bit of a sleepy town in terms of that, and I want it to be more of a vibrant, active town where we really understand that the library is part of the community and how we can really use that to bring in all groups and ages of the community into the city, because I just want it to be a little bit more vibrant and more active. I think we have started, since I've been here in the 10 years, I can see definitely kind of like a climb of trying to bring community out and having these little programs and activities that we've had with the city, but I think that we can just take it a little bit further.
Great, okay, thank you. Bring it back to the body. Mendel?
Thank you for being a nurse. My wife is a nurse, so kudos to you. You made a great choice.
I did. I think it was a great second career.
It is. You've answered what I was going to ask as to what you would bring, and I love your energy, passion, and thoughts, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael?
Thank you, Esther. How would you bring your vibrance to the library board?
Well, I think what I would want to do is take a look at all of the programs that are currently being offered, and then see where we can expand on those current programs, because often, it's not about recreating the wheel. You just basically see what we got and then see how we can build on that. And also that way, it's not so scary for staff to kind of see, like when you have somebody come in new and they say, oh, we're going to do all these things, sometimes you get a little bit of pushback because people are afraid of change. And so I think if you build on what we already have, and then you incrementally throw in like, okay, well, how can we, I thought the whole idea of like the junior high thing was great. Good answer. And so I think, having those little things of like bringing in these new programs, but doing it in a way that isn't going to create the staff. And also another thing that I was really thinking of is creating a volunteer aspect to it, because we have a certain staff, we have a certain funds that are allocated, and so basically using the high school, using the junior high, using senior citizens to actually also help expand the programs that we have can be really valuable, because I also belong to the Laverne San Dimas Women's Club, and we have a very strong, program there where it's amazing how volunteers can really make things happen. And so I would like to also kind of expand that aspect of the program.
Thank you.
Great. Shauna?
Keeping with my theme of that young adults there in the middle that kind of get looked over, do you have anything specific you might try to kind of bring those folks in?
What I have found with kids, because I taught primarily high school, but I did do a little bit of junior high. It's a whole other human being. They really are. And I don't mean any disrespect for that, but they are special kids. And I think that having the children come up with what they want, because a lot of times kids have an idea of what they want. And I think doing that outreach and finding out what they're interested in and then building programs around that can be really a key thing. Because let's say you have a few kids that are interested in something like anime or art or whatever, but you can bring that interest into the library and expand on it. And so I think really using the children themselves as a way to instigate it, because at that age, if we can use them as that building block, we're going to get a lot farther than having adults come in and say, this is what we have for you, versus I think if we can use them as a way to create these programs, we're going to get a more highly effective program than having a bunch of old farts basically try to create these things for them.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Karen?
Mr. Alawas asked my question, so it was about how would you bring that vibrance to the board, and you answered that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Yeah, same with myself, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank
Okay,
you.
and I do apologize. I have one more client that I have to see, so I have to get back to work. If I had
Understood.
known this process, I would have spent a different time, but this is my first time applying, so I wasn't sure how the process ran. So my
Understood.
apologies,
We'll
but,
be in touch.
okay, thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Okay, next up would be Deborah Hall. Welcome, Deborah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this time. My name is Deborah Hall, and since about 81, I've lived in Glendora. My husband and I lived in Laverne until we could move back in 98 when we were able to buy a house. We've raised our kids here ever since. I've utilized the library since 81 for high school, for college, as a new mom with little kids, always signing them up for the summer program. As a new teacher who needed books for her classroom, I would always rely on the library to pick the perfect books for the perfect unit I was teaching. Speaking of teaching, I've been a teacher for the last 31 years. I spent the first 19 years teaching elementary in Charter Oak and at La Fetra, and I had experience with all the grade levels. Then for the last 12 years, I've been at Goddard teaching 6th grade, English, history, AVID, and a reading fundamentals class, which is wonderful. It's for struggling readers, and I really adore that class. But in all the 31 years, I've always taught English and literacy, which I feel is tantamount to access and opportunity for individuals, regardless of language or background. Which brings me to the reason I would like to be part of the Board of Trustees for the library. It has given to me over 40-something years. I would like to give back now. In addition to teaching, I have spent many years on our site's leadership team in the capacity of department chair, grade level, lead teacher, and for the last 3 years, I've also been AVID coordinator. That was a great position. Part of that was inviting guest speakers into the classroom for the AVID students. I invited Mrs. Romero in 3 years ago, and listening to all the things she was telling the AVID students, which many of them were new to me, she and I planned for the last 2 years to have an AVID family night here at Bidwell Forum. And for the sole purpose of the information was so valuable, I felt that families also needed to hear what the library had to offer. Because our library doesn't just offer books anymore. It is beyond the walls of the library. And I'm not sure if all families in the community are aware of going beyond, this isn't walking in for my 3-year-old and getting a book or a senior coming in. One of the webpage, the e-library, which I'm sure you're all aware of, there are 2 things that stand out among the many, many resources. One of them is the LinkedIn. For anyone in this community to be able to create a free LinkedIn profile and use the portal for extra certification, which could result in promotions or an upgrade in their job or schooling. And then the other one, which I keep telling everyone about, is the tuition foundation source funding source, there are billions of dollars waiting to be accessed by the community, not just for seniors going into college, but for anyone who's willing to go back to school. So knowing these are sitting there, I'd really love to have more exposure and access to all that the library provides for all the citizens here in Glendora.
Great. Well, thank you. Let's see, bring it back here. Mendel.
Well, again, thank you for investing in middle school students. I have a daughter that is trying to invest and shape those students, and so great job. I'm interested kind of on what you just kind of said about grants and money that's out there, and you had mentioned that you've been able to obtain grants, and can you give us just a short snippet of maybe if you were on the board, how, you know, that skill could be used by us? I mean, not that we're not doing it now, but
Right.
we could expand it.
So in the course of 31 years of teaching between Rotary, Kiwanians, and Southern California Edison, I've been awarded over $10,000 in grant money for a variety of programs in all the different grade levels I taught. One that I'm really proud of was a $7,000 grant from Edison that I used when I was at La Fetra to plan and host a 12-week family literacy program. This allowed us to invite, it was by invitation, select students with their parents came in for 12 weeks, and I coached them on reading strategies and literacy strategies to help, so they could go home and know how to read with their child. All the children got a free book out of it. I had a blast. It was very different than I think we've done in the classroom before, and this was after school, of course. I think I do well writing grants. I just received one from Kiwanians to bring weaving looms for my history class so we could pretend that we were weaving textiles like they did in the old days. I would be very interested in sitting down to see what grants are available to provide for all the programs. I'm sure they are costly, and the money doesn't fall off the trees for all of this.
Great, thank you.
Karen?
Hi, Deborah, thank you for applying and your great intro. You answered some of my questions about some of the things you've been involved in and what you would do differently, and I think you gave us a lot of information, so thank you.
Great. Shauna?
Thank you for being here. I don't have any questions. You answered them all, but I will say my oldest son, was one of your students at Goddard, and he had you for 2 classes, and so I know you are very capable of drawing in that age group that I've been talking about, because you did that with my own child, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and you covered all my bases just
Okay.
nicely, so thank you very much. Did I get you?
No.
Michael?
I know you want to speed along, but
No, I'm not rushing.
that's good. Thank you for applying. You mentioned the AVID program and to help kids read. How would that be different from what's already being offered through the library? Or is there anything that's offered through the library?
There are those things, and of course I focus on literacy, and I always want to address students who struggle in reading, but this can cover all people, people who enjoy reading and don't need to be dragged in and forced to read a book against their will. But going back, the summer reading program addresses that. It has always been fun. It's full of entertainment. It draws kids in. I did participate in one of the adult book clubs years ago. I haven't done that recently. I think there's a way to engage your middle readers who think they don't like books. They will at some point, they will again. But we also have to realize they don't get their information and their entertainment the same way we would want them to all the time. Not that books are off the table, but they do have access to the digital platforms and what they consider. I remember my daughter telling me, I read, I have Twitter. And I was like, I'm dying, you're killing me. They will come back to books. But along with the exemplar programs the library offers, I mean, there's lots of ideas, and people have great ideas. That's why our library stands so tall in this community. But perhaps a speaker program for the middle ages, for your preteens and teens, people to come in to speak to them directly, would help draw them in and realize all sorts of people read books. You can be a very famous influencer and you still love to sit down with a great book. I think they need to see that still modeled. Sadly, it doesn't always come from the parents. We would love them to duplicate what we do. They don't always. Teachers are pushing books like, all the time, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Lisa Long, welcome.
Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for allowing me and all of us this opportunity to come before you to express our desire to serve the community. Everyone I've heard so far, I think we need to open up the board because everyone is so talented. I would be proud to have anyone who's spoken, on the Board of Trustees. I am interested in serving on the board. I'm Glendora born and raised, been here since 1963, and grew up in the Charter Oak schools, would go to our library for all of my assignments, growing up through the years. And then I recently retired from teaching at Sutherland Elementary. I was there for over 30 years and taught second, third, and fourth. And of course, our primary goal, we teach all the subjects, but specifically literacy and a love for reading because, by the end of third grade, if students aren't reading at grade level, then they're at great risk. And so that would be our big push. I'm proud of the scores that we had at Sutherland. My students always did quite well in math and in language arts. And sharing my love of reading with them was really always important to me, which leads me to the importance of the library here and my desire to help serve and support what it already is, because currently, it is wonderful, but just to be a support to the current staff and to expand what we have there at the library and giving all of our community the access they might want to have. And so that's it.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see, bring it back to Michael.
Thank you, Lisa, for applying. You're right. Library is a great place. The community loves it. The numbers keep growing as far as the throughput of folks using it. Can you see any reason or way to improve what they've already have been doing?
We can always improve or just expand on what we have, but I would want to start by supporting what the staff has right now and making sure we're supporting them in a way that allows them to continue to do a very successful program. Something I've always been involved with and utilized a lot in my classroom over the years is like cross-age, like tutoring and interaction. So when we look at wanting to include high schoolers, the middle schoolers, elementary, I would like to continue to look into maybe having students from Citrus work with the high schoolers and form maybe groups or helping members of the community, whether it be the elderly or the younger kids, just because, as we all know, younger kids love, like teenagers or young adults, they love that population. So connecting them, connecting the middle schoolers to the younger kids, and that would give them a purpose and have them a purpose to read and interact, bringing literacy to the younger kids. So that's one goal of mine, is to bring different ages together, including the elderly, and making sure all of our citizens have access to the library, including if we have people who are being serviced, the homeless populations, just bringing in everyone, that they have a place and a home in the library and giving greater access to that.
Thank you.
Mendel.
I have nothing to ask because the answers that you gave us in your written app were spot on. I just want to say thank you for the investment that you've made within our kids 2 of my grandsons went to your school. I don't know if you had them. If you did, may God bless you.
And one just graduated.
But if you didn't, they are thriving, and Sutherland is doing a great job. So appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shauna?
Thank you, Lisa, for being here. I think you've been really thorough. I don't have any questions, but I do appreciate your comment about connecting different age groups for tutoring, with kids in the schools. I love GUSD. Both my kids are in GUSD, but I have to say the one thing that I think that they're lacking is access to quality tutoring, like outside of school hours. And so if there's a way that our library can help fill that gap, I think it would be fantastic. So I appreciate you making a comment on that. But thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. Karen?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for applying. And anything else that you would like to see occur or that you think the library could expand on?
We can always, expand on our services. I think maybe engaging in activities that just bring people in. And they're already doing that, but maybe some more like literacy evenings, maybe some that, perhaps we could start having a type of entertainment night, maybe with the kids, bringing in your talents, and maybe middle schoolers or high schoolers helping run that for the younger kids. I'm really all about empowering young people, but really all ages, helping them just go with something and get excited about something, and maybe even bringing in local businesses. We talk about wanting to increase our local businesses. Maybe they can sponsor a literacy night. They can, we can have them talk about their favorite books, just expanding into the community, I think, and bringing in more service, like people being engaged to empower themselves. And sometimes the kids, my students, they would start off being a struggling reader, and they don't even realize that they've taken control of their own reading, and then all of a sudden they've improved years in reading without even realizing it. But by building confidence and taking the responsibility for themselves, just because we really want them all everyone to be an engaged, literate member of our community, right? So we can thrive. So that's it.
Great. Just basically a comment and maybe a thought how it might work. This is a unique body in that the library has a fabulous staff, and it has a relationship with the Board of Trustees, but then they also have the Friends Foundation trustees. So it's a collaboration of events that the staff gets to lean on and work with, but the trustees and the Friends Foundation have to respect that also. So with 3 entities to be part of, what's your thoughts there of how that can work? Because it's working today, I think.
Exactly. I know, I'm sure it's fabulous. My first thought is to, if I were to serve on the Board of Trustees, is just acclimate and support people. As anyone coming into a new, an organization that they haven't been a part of intricately, you just need to support what they have, because what they have is amazing.
Okay.
But then, exactly, yeah. But then, if we can help or support in any way, because it wouldn't be my job to make any changes per se. Yeah, I think that's huge.
Good direction. 'Cause
No,
that is
that's
huge. It
huge. But
is.
I do, have a heart for bringing people in and increasing involvement in any way that we might be able to. But yeah, my understanding is that it's a supportive role.
Yeah,
I
think so.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lisa.
All right, thanks.
Very good. Lisa Malcolm. Thank you for your patience and waiting. Welcome, Lisa.
How's everyone?
Okay.
Good. My name is Lisa Malcolm, and unlike many of your applicants this evening, I'm not an educator. My role here in Glendora started 27 years ago when my husband and I started dating. And so he's the reason that I'm here. And his family is the reason that I'm here. My father-in-law, Dr. Thomas Malcolm, worked with the library for more years than I can count, along with Glendora Kiwanis. Many years ago, I also served on the board of Glendora Kiwanians. We moved from the area before we had kids, one kid. And my son is now 21, and we are back. About 3 years ago, we moved back to town. The Glendora Library, when I was a young married woman starting my own business, was a place for me to go and actually have like an office, right? I could go there, be alone, do work, not have my husband bother me, not have my mom call me. Now, as a woman with a thriving business, I use the digital resources from the library in my business. So I use things like Hoopla, Libby, both for business resources and information, so it doesn't cost me money in my business. I can actually check those books out or listen to them through those apps. Or also, I've always been a lifelong reader, and I love to read, and so I don't have to spend extra money buying books. I have access to all of the books that the library has through that. Again, not taking time away from my family. I can just go on my phone and use those kinds of things, which is one of the main reasons that I was drawn to the library so much, because it supported me throughout the different phases of my life.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Bringing it back, Karen.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that journey and how the library has fit into those places throughout your life. Looking ahead, where do you see the library being part of your life or people similar to you in the future?
Sure. So a really good example is last weekend, I think it was, I went to a workshop at the library on, it was local resources for plants, right, to grow local plants, because I do have one of those like water draining lawns, I think. And on Thursday, there's a succulents workshop that I'm bringing a friend of mine with, because we both really like little cactuses. So we're hoping to go home with a new cactus on Thursday. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for not just very small and not just very old members of our community to participate. I think the library is really there for everyone, and I think I'm a really good example of that.
Great, thank you. No, and I'm sorry I missed that workshop too. I heard great things about it.
We're all supposed to get the $50 is what I heard.
Mendel?
Thank you for telling us about that. I want to send my wife to the succulent thing, because every plant that we seem to have dies. So I know that succulents have a no longer lifespan. And welcome home, too. I think you're about the third person that we've talked to that has moved back, so welcome.
Thank you.
You said on item 8 that a priority would be to increase the accessibility.
Yeah.
So could you kind of just quickly
Sure.
unwrap
So
that?
I think that the library actually already has a lot of those systems in place. It's just maybe a little bit more of a messaging issue
Okay.
that we have. And I think I've heard that a lot this evening, which I'm sure you've all heard before. But in my business, I'm a publicist. My job is messaging.
Right.
That's what I do for a living. And I think there's some very easy, clear ways to put up Instagram posts and talk about things like Hoopla, things like Libby, things like Canopy, where you can access free movies through the library and have a movie night with your family, any night this summer. I think that those very small but active things that we already have can just, if the public's made more aware. I didn't find out about those things at the library. I found out about them from social media.
Yeah.
I think that if we can message a little bit stronger, I think we'll have a lot more success with just what we already have.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great. Michael?
Thank you again. Thank you for coming back to Glenboring. Usually happens that way, doesn't it? You
Seems
want
to,
peace and
yes.
quiet and serenity, so you come back. and the hometown values. You touched on a little bit with what Mendel had just mentioned with your life experience and things of that nature. How can you parlay that into extending the library and growing it into the next phase?
Sure. Again, I think it really does come down to some messaging. I think we have a fantastic staff. You already have very strong bodies. Yeah, any applicant here tonight is going to be an asset to the library. I think what we really again need is more information put out in a way that's easily accessible for the public to access it. I only know about the things happening at the library because I'm specifically looking them up, and I look through the Glendora, the community resources book that comes out. Not a lot of people do. I mean, my mother-in-law's been here, I don't want to say how many years because that'll tell her age, but she doesn't always look through the book. If she doesn't look through the book, then she doesn't know what's going on. And that's not the place that everyone's getting all of their information. I think it's just a matter of accessing information and making it available everywhere to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shauna?
Don't get your hopes up, Mendel. I've killed a cactus before, so it is possible. I don't have any, you answered all my questions, so thank you for being here.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. And being last, you've answered all mine as well. So
Thank you.
great. Thank you for visiting with us. Marcia Mason. Don't pour your tea in it. It won't die. Don't pour your
Well, hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Good to see you again. I figure you probably wanted me back to torture me, or you liked my story so much that you want to hear it again. So I do have a lot of history, but you've heard it all before. But I haven't heard it at all so far in tonight's applications or their speeches, and that's okay. But I am reminded that this room was opened in 1957 as our first library, as the first place to house a library. And I was here with my mother, and that makes me a walking library as I walk and talk around town, because I'm old enough to be one. So I wanted to start off by saying, the Athena Club back in 1900 started with a book club, and then they turned all their books that they didn't have the ability to handle anymore over to the Women's Club, and the Women's Club then gave it to the city because they wanted the city to incorporate a city library, and they did that back in 1912. So the Women's Club is proud to say that they are like the mothers of the library, but we had many mothers. And because of that, and after being president of the Women's Club, I think that the Women's Club should have, it's a tradition to kind of stand watch and be part of the Library Board of Trustees, caring about this institution and making sure that everything goes as it was planned in 1912 and as we want to keep it going. So I've watched the success and growth of the library from, well, I wasn't here when it was in the Opera House. However, I have been here since it was in this room. And I moved here, well, my parents moved here in 1953. And so I do feel like I'm part of the history here in Glendora. So, and I like being part of the history. History is like in my blood, and that's why I like the library. And I went on in my career as a lawyer and spent all probably 20 years or more in the law libraries. And so I have a feel for that too, which is quite different than a city library. But nonetheless, it's a love for books, it's a love for learning, and I feel like I could be an asset as a trustee to keep watch over this place. And other than that, you've heard me speak, and I don't want to bore you. You said to keep it short, so I'm going to, but I would like to close with saying that the Glendora Library is a vital institution for our community and the public. And through library services and outreach, and proximity to knowledge and resources. Is that me making this noise because I'm too close?
A little bit, sorry.
Okay, I'll stand back. I get excited. And the library faces challenges, and it will always face challenges for our facilities, our service recruitment. But these challenges require vision and a strong leadership. So the future of the library can be brought through our patrons, brilliant staff, and a continued solid partnership with the city of Glendora. So libraries are not profitable in the monetary sense, but they are profitable in the longevity and in their longevity and in the lives that they enhance and in all the good that they provide for the community. The Glendora Library has been profitable since 1912, when it became the Glendora Library. And that's what I have.
Okay, great, thank you. Shauna, would you like to begin?
Thank you so much for being here. I think continuing with my theme on that middle group, young adults, is there anything that you can think of, maybe that hasn't been brought up already, that we could do to kind of get that group re-engaged with the love of reading or anything in the realm of reading?
Well, I was thinking, this might not hit exactly on what you're talking about, but we have access to things that we've never had access to before in the last 30 years. And I was reminded that my favorite book when I was a little kid was real high tech. It was called Hoppy. And it had in it a hole through all the pages, and it was about a grasshopper. And as you opened and turned the pages, that grasshopper would hop. High technology for the old days. And being reminded of that, I went online and I could get that book now. And I did. So I have it. I don't read it, but I have it. And I'm thinking that there's so many things, so many resources that the library has to offer. And I still believe that like taking 3 minutes on the video, our local channel, if it's possible, to talk about one book or one author from Glendora that has written something. I recently met a guy that wrote about being Abraham Lincoln's scout, and just tremendous knowledge. Who knew that he had a scout? But it was a thick book and how Abraham Lincoln liked magic. And then you think about those days. They didn't have very much magic, seances. That was the thing. So I like to make things and knowledge like that available. And if we could do that through little 3-minute vignettes or something, I think that would be very interesting to the public. And for 3 minutes, as they're scrolling through the channels, they might actually read it or watch it.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Wasn't Athena the goddess of war?
What's that?
Wasn't Athena the goddess of war?
Was it? I don't know.
So,
I'm thinking Mars, but that was a man.
so a number of the folks that came before you were teachers, and they've have experience of teaching and being in the library and things of that nature. And I really enjoyed your history of the love of the library based on the Women's Club and their history with that as well. How would you compare what they have learned and what they would offer as opposed to your history and the tutelage from the Women's Club into the library? What value do you think you can bring to that with that comparison?
To teach the children from the values
No,
from the
not to
Women's
teach,
Club?
but to guide the direction of the library with the knowledge that you have.
Well, I feel like a walking library myself, so I think that there's a lot of knowledge that can be imparted. And when you're in conversation or something with someone else, a lot of times you can impart that history and get them interested in the library or coming to the library. And I think that the library still has a lot to offer, and I'd like to be part of its future.
Thank you.
Okay. Randall?
Marcia, thank you. I don't have any other questions. I just want to say thank you for being here, for coming back. Your application was very, very good. You addressed any sort of questions that I've had, and the previous interaction did as well. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mendel.
Karen?
Hi, Marcia. Thank you for being here. I know that you talked about the history and that piece of it. What do you see as the future story of the library?
Well, I think the future of the library can be bright with a good staff and continued partnership with the city. And I know it has a lot of challenges, so I want to be there to help meet those challenges. And no matter what it takes, I think my legal background has a lot to do with it too, because nothing is black and white. There's always alternatives. So when you hit a door, you got to go around it, and I can do that. Okay.
Okay, I have no questions, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Nick Rosales. Mr. Rosales, welcome.
Good afternoon, City Council. Well, I'm a new Glendorian. Actually, we just bought a place, me and my wife, in October, November of this past year. But I've been active in Glendora, Azusa, Covina for the last 30 years. I've served in some of the commissions in Azusa. That's where I was presently living. But now that we bought this dream home over here by the Foxbrook area, we're excited about it, being in Glendora. What I came here is I bring a different perspective. I'm not an educator. I bring 25 years of successful business in the real estate and investment industry. The library has been something that I've always endearing for me, because I started off at a library learning when I went to college, business school, and it really taught me the discipline of how to be successful. And what I want to do, and what I like to do, is I'd like to go ahead and bring that experience and knowledge and that success into the library board. It's different. It's a different perspective. We're doers, we're makers, we're problem solvers. And that's what I want to bring. I want to bring young people and all adults in any age group back to the library. So that way they feel it's much more, it's going to be chic. It's going to be great to go back to the library back in the 70s and the 80s when people did that. I want to bring that back. How do you bring that back? You bring in the technology that we have now. We mentioned that artificial intelligence is here. People don't need to go to the library. Actually, what you need is a physical location to bring that artificial to enhance your goals. The new generation coming up want to be successful. It's a different generation that we just recently had. They want to be successful. They want to do something unique and different than the last generation. Millennials, they want to be better than the millennials. So what I'm proposing is we want to change things where they are excited to come to the library. They come in with their laptop. They physically learn how to do some trade school techniques. What we could do is, what I like to do is bring in trade school workshops at the library. Bring things that they can actually physically touch with enhancement, with their laptop or computers, what we can do. I think it's important that it's changed. The Library of Ola is no longer here anymore. We need a place where they can physically come in and learn something to be successful, whatever that may be. But the key issue that I like to bring in is I like to bring the discipline of actually physically coming to the library. That way the young people and all people, wherever they're at, they want to go ahead and say, hey, I want to change my life. I want to change my career. I want to do something. They need to come in, and we'll have resources or outreach that they can connect to. You got to give them the incentive to come to the library. If they don't need to go online, come to the library and get the resource there. Sit down and learn something that they can go ahead and reach out and physically touch and learn. A variety of different things. Education's great, learning, reading, but there's a huge need, an underbelly of people wanting to learn something different. People only have about 15-second attention span now. They need something now. They want to learn now. They want to get a job now. They don't have time to sit down and read a whole book, although they should. It's important to sit down and read a book because it really helps your mental capacity. My mother-in-law is 101 years old. She still reads the paper and reads books all the time. She's a fantastic lady.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Rosales. Let's bring back to the panel, if we may, please. Mendel.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for even being here, applying. Welcome to our beautiful city. Thank you for sharing the vision that you would have for us. And I don't have any other questions to ask because you've been very, very good about saying that. So thank you.
Very good.
Karen?
Hi, anything else that you are thinking that you would be able to bring to the library board from your own skill set?
I would bring the discipline of actually showing up to the meeting, giving my input, and giving different ideas of what can help bring people back to the library. I think that's the big goal here, is to bring people back to the library.
Okay, thank you. Shauna?
Thank you so much for being here. You actually answered my question when you were talking, so I have nothing. Thank you.
Michael?
Same with me. Thank you very much for being here. You've answered my questions.
And I'll ditto that. Great presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, do we have Mr. James Sullivan? Okay, seeing that. And I did not miss Terry Merrick. I believe she was not able to interview, so we had that information ahead of time, but is still interested in being considered. Anna Villeneuve? Okay. Not seeing Anna. Is Carol Walls Sandal here? Going once, okay. Well, thank you for a great, can we have 20 trustees on that thing? No. Very good. All right, I believe we need to vote, and we are voting for 2, please.
We have Lisa Long and Deborah Hall and Lisa Long.
Okay, well, congratulations. Thank you all for participating. We will, in fact, retain all the applications should an opening come before us. Congratulations to the new electees, and welcome aboard. Thank you all.
No, so there is a correction to the ballot. Yours showed Deborah Hall. It does not change the result. It is Deborah Hall and Lisa Long.
Okay. All right, we are adjourned till 7 o'clock.